when you sit up there and you look at the media and you talk like you two-faced it or you talk like you full of it, it will come back to haunt you. Who the hell don't know that Jalen Hurts is going to be starting over Joe Flacco? Joe Flacco hasn't been around in 3 years, really. He was 0-4 last year as a starter for the Denver Broncos. The couple of years prior to that, I mean, we know Lamar Jackson basically took his job. I'm just looking at some of the numbers here, okay? Over the last 3 seasons, Joe Flacco, all right, is 6-15 as a starter. He's a stationary target. He's not what he used to be. All right, it's a long time ago since he won the Super Bowl championship. His day is come and gone to a lot of people. He's lucky to still be in the NFL in some people's eyes. I think that he's better than that. He's definitely a serviceable backup. There's something to be said about a veteran that has an arm that can throw the football and knows how to read defenses. We get all of that. But there's nobody worth their salt that believes that after you trade Carson Wentz, you're going to start the season in Philadelphia with Joe Flacco. So Nick Sirianni telling the audience that, first of all, you're calling out your quarterback and basically creating or planting significant seeds of doubt with the viewing audience. But because you did that knowing that Jalen Hurts is going to be your quarterback, all the Philadelphia media is going to do is assume that every time you open your mouth, you're full of it. And as a result, they're going to come with more heat. And they're going to probe more and more and more. And they're going to dig into your locker room in ways they don't do in Indianapolis. It was a mistake by Sirianni to say that. And that's what I mean when I say he don't know what the hell he's doing. He don't know who he dealing with when it comes to the media in Philadelphia. But he about to find out. I'll tell you that much.
Look, it looks to me from where I'm sitting like Hurts must really be struggling. Like must have had a really bad day. Because, right, who doesn't know that he's going to start over a guy who I think made a Pro Bowl with the Baltimore Colts, Stephen. I mean, talk about Joe Flacco.
It's been a while.
He's been around for a hot minute.
He's been around
for a hot minute. and
Baltimore Colts.
Yeah, let's be honest. It was in Baltimore, but I think it was with the – look, Flacco lost his job to a running quarterback who was taken at the very end of the first round and obviously impressed, and people felt – in the organization, this is the way forward. And clearly it was. Their offense exploded as soon as they made that move. There's a reason Jalen Hurts was taken in the middle of the second round. There's a reason he lost his starting job in college. He has potential, but it is not to the point where that guy, that's a surefire NFL star. With the consistency of as a thrower still has to be there. And he's shown flashes. I'm thinking about the loss to Arizona last year. Stephen A. Not even the win against New Orleans, I think it was, right? If memory serves. It was the loss to Arizona where I was like, oh, wait a minute. He's hanging in with Kyler Murray. He's doing some things that really look like he has upside. I mean, that's why you get a quarterback in the middle of the second round. That's why a guy who's winning at Alabama but doesn't keep that job. And then, that's the reason that stuff happened to him. And I think that's what we're seeing now as a pro. There is reason to be optimistic about Jalen Hurts based on what we've seen last year. But he is a long way from a sure thing. And I think, Coach, whether or not, I'm sure you're right about, don't mess around with the Philadelphia media. You would know. But maybe what Coach really has in the forefront of his mind is Hurts needs to be still competing for everything he gets because he's not there yet. And that would match up with his history.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, as a member of the Philadelphia media for 17 years, it's an incredible, incredible sports town. I still got a lot of friends there, obviously. It's hardcore. We don't play. And when you look the media in the face and everybody knows that Jalen Hurts is your starting quarterback, but you do something like that, what it says to them is that they can't believe you when you open your mouth. And because of that, they're going to dig and dig and dig, and they're going to go around you to get information. Not to say that they wouldn't do it anyway, but you need to be the kind of person that they can look at and say, yeah, okay, I can trust what he's saying. And remember, they're coming off of Doug Peterson. And even though he's no liar or anything like that, he was compromised because obviously he wasn't on the same page as Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman, who was once cast aside for Chip Kelly by Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, ultimately was brought back and reinstalled into his position. So you had a whole bunch of stuff that was going on in Philadelphia throughout the years that compromised Doug Peterson. Nick Sirianni doesn't have that problem. You just going up in front of the press and talking that gibberish. And when you do that with talk radio and the reporters in Philadelphia, you are begging for trouble.
Question. Let's say you say, Coach, you're a reporter in Philadelphia. You get Sirianni alone. You say, Coach, I'm just off the record. Why not just say Jalen Hurts is the starter? Because obviously he's going to start. And he tells you something like, the way he's been looking in practice, I can't do that. Like in the NFL, you really do have to earn it. This dude is not a surefire future star, and he has not earned it yet. So that's why he said at the press conference, if you recall the wording he used, he goes, we're not there yet. He just said there's no rush on that yet. Let's say he's told you something like that off the record. What would you say to him then?
First of all, I would say to him, that's still stupid, number one. Number two, I would say this is the reason why. They just traded Carson Wentz, bro. You start Joe Flacco. That's an ultimate indictment against the organization that drafted him, which is this organization that just hired you as the head coach. You will know good and damn well when game one of this season comes, barring injury, Jalen Hurts is going to be your quarterback. So why not just sit up there and tell us, we need him to be better. He's got to step it up because he's our guy, as opposed to implying that he's not, because then you got everybody saying, well, what the hell is Carson Wentz not there for? You got Joe Flacco.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.